Walter, my grandson. It's my grandson. Look at him. Like something. Almost 4 months. All right, everybody.
4 months old and he's already reading.
We all could rise for the pledge, please. Diane, could you lead us in the pledge?
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Got a moment of silence for the men and women in the armed forces, our first responder, our veterans, those fighting the good fight in Ukraine, and those suffering from the conflict in the Middle East. Thank you. Okay. Do we have anybody, Paul, that is signed up for public participation? We need to start. As we're waiting for Paul. Walter, would you like to open the meeting for tonight for Board of Finance?
Call the Board of Finance back into session.
Okay. Like to call the special meeting of the Town Council.
So moved.
Thank you. And seeing as we have no public participation tonight, we're going to start off with IT. Dave? And for our books, it's 101.
Yeah, really, if you could. All I could get. Good evening, Council, Board of Finance. I am your IT director, and luckily I can operate this thing. Couple of things to go over real quick. Easiest one here is going to be our personnel line. We only saw a little bit of a change. This year's change is really just due to the non-union increases that we saw. Our professional services, this includes our ability to do risk assessments and also work with our third-party vendors who support things like our phone system. We are a department of 3 people, and because we have a condensed bench, we need to rely on third parties to supplement when there's things that we just don't know, don't have the capabilities, or are not able to as expeditiously resolve as we would like and or need. Also our contractuals, which is where you're going to see, it wasn't working, so I wasn't bothering. A large lump sum of the expenditures in our budget. This includes everything from the Know Before awareness platform that we use for our employees, the encrypted email that we use, the software that the town uses for both its financials as well as its permitting solutions. There's quite a bit in there. The
Dave,
biggest change.
Can you kind of talk about, the really news of the year? We've talked about this before when you've come up.
Sure.
Kind of 2 things. First is cybersecurity.
Mm-hmm.
And kind of when you first got here, when we started talking together about where the town was.
Yep.
Where the town is now.
When we started, we had 2 risk assessments done, and they weren't quite as thick as this pad, but they were pretty close. There was one for the PD that had, I want to say, somewhere around 50 findings, and I would argue about 25% of those were critical. And the town side, because they're 2 disparate networks, they were assessed differently, pretty much the same boat. Forgive me if I'm off on those numbers a little bit. That was a bit of a blurry time. I had started in July, and we found out that we had some pretty significant security problems about 2 or 3 months later. Since then, we've done a lot to educate our staff on the risks that they are facing on a day-to-day basis. We've seen a number of communities around us get hit with cybersecurity attacks. I mean, we just had one down in Danbury most recently, I believe the Board of Education. They found out that they had been breached about 2 years previous to the actual awareness that their staff had. It's kind of referred to as living on the land. They'll get in there and they'll just camp out. They'll watch. They'll see what you're up to and all that.
And Dave, when we did our assessment, we noticed there was also some really hardware upgrades that needed to be done.
Yep.
And we used both surplus funding for that and American Relief funding.
So we used the surplus funding not just to get us to where we need to be, but also where it was mandated by our insurance carrier. When we went to get cybersecurity coverage after KERMA no longer carried, KERMA is the carrier for a lot of the municipalities, I believe in the state of Connecticut alone, they stopped carrying cybersecurity coverage. Wasn't working for them because everyone's getting hit. In order for us to have the cybersecurity coverage, we were mandated to have specific things in place. Two-factor in front of our email. It existed, but a number of individuals who were critical, it wasn't applied to. We didn't have two-factor in front of our switches. And for anyone here that doesn't know what two-factor is, if you ever log into your bank account or your town emails, you're prompted not just for your password, but also a code could come to your email. You might have a token. We needed it there. And without those things, we just couldn't have coverage. And we would have been just hoping that we didn't have a ransom that we were gonna have to pay out of pocket. We also used our ARPA funds to do a lot more as far as resiliency is concerned. Over the last couple of years, especially because of COVID, but also because of what I've been working with the mayor on to further in town, the organization has become further reliant on technology, as has our community. A great example is the permitting solution. We were still rolling that out when I first started. Take a moment and ask Bill in building what he would do if he didn't have Viewpoint Cloud. I don't know how a lot of our departments would have been as effective as they were without those permitting solutions in place, and that's just the start of it. That's not to talk about the phone system that allows our staff to be available anywhere. Without the necessary resiliencies and redundancies in place, if our internet connection went down, for example, your staff can't carry on their inspections, they can't pick up the phone and do business, they can't be effective at their jobs. So we were able to not just get us to where we needed to be from a cybersecurity perspective, but also ensure that our staff is able to 9 to 5 do their job and do their job effectively, and the community can get a hold of us and leverage us when they needed us.
I know, Dave, you partnered with, if you could explain to everybody what CISA is. And
Yep.
as far as, I know they can't get into some depth because obviously we're dealing with cybersecurity
Yep.
and the network, but kind of what now, speaking of present day, the findings of what you're finding with now our hardened network, our investment
Yep.
that the town council, board of finance, the public has made with these additional funds,
Sure.
where we are now.
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll table CISA for just a second. As far as where we are now, I think our most recent vulnerability scan gives us a good idea. If memory serves, we had 3 findings. 1 was low and 2 were medium, and one of them was because we had rolled out a brand new system and there was a misconfiguration on one item that wasn't a in and of itself a core vulnerability. But what they'll look at is if you have these 2 or 3 things that combined can let you into some place, that's when it's critical. And we were able to resolve those, I believe, within 2 weeks. Not the 110 or 95, whatever items between the 2 organizations. And that's the trend we've been having. Now, to the mayor's point with CISA, forgive me, I'm not gonna remember the abbreviation, but it is the branch of the federal government that's responsibility is essentially to purvey over cybersecurity. They're the ones that say, hey, we just saw this massive vulnerability and everyone needs to patch for it. We follow that guidance, even though we are not a federal or state organization. They mandate those organizations, but we follow that guidance nonetheless. One of the other reasons that we're really excited about them and the things that they're doing is they offer a number of free services to us. For example, every week they scan us from the outside and see, do you have any new vulnerabilities? Is there anything that you need to know about and you need to address? And that occurs on a weekly basis, costs us nothing. A branch of their organization was the rollout of .gov. I know a lot of people have asked us, why are we doing .gov? But the reality is, we are a governmental organization, not just an organization. If you want to go out and get a .org, all you need is a credit card. That's it. I want a .org. Here's my money. You'll have it in a couple of minutes. It's not hard. And to get a .gov, we needed the mayor's approval. We needed the finance director's approval. We needed to prove that we were who we say we are. And now we are newmilfordct.gov. So when we email the citizens of this town and the other individuals that we work with, there's some validity to the email. There's some power to the email. It's understood we are government. And that's how it should have been all along. Previously, that would have cost us something. Didn't cost us a penny, just other than the time and effort it took to roll us out. But I'm actually proud to say that about 90% of our staff, my office of 3 people, we were able to make that transition within 2 days. So there's a number of other things that they are offering and helping us out with. They are offering us internal assessments so we can prepare for any grant opportunities coming from the federal government. We also actually had the Coast Guard, or not Coast Guard, sorry, the local guard in Connecticut. They came out and did an assessment. Thank you. The National Guard came out and did an assessment in and around cybersecurity as it relates to elections. But nonetheless, they were actually quite impressed with a lot of what we were doing. They only had one recommendation, and that was the same recommendation they gave to a number of other municipalities as well. So we are leveraging everything that anyone out there wants to give us as far as the federal government and our local government, state government, to give us a leg up, because this budget here is, it's already sizable. It's sizable compared to what my predecessors would have asked you for. It's also increased year over year. There's a point where you have diminishing returns, but it is expensive to secure an organization like this when the malicious actors show up for a 9-to-5 job. They go to a cubicle, they sit down, they have their lunch break, they go for a cigarette break. They show up just like you and I show up to jobs, and they are trying every single day to find a way in. And our job is not just to find the one way in. Our job is to find every single way that they could get in and block it before they have an opportunity to do so. And that's difficult to do, and especially without being able to expend the funds that we're asking for.
And I know, Dave, like you said, you have a staff of 3. Amazing work, but not only did we start with the basic configuration of the town hall, we've actually expanded that presence. So now we do the IT work of the library.
Yep.
And working in close partnership with them.
Yep.
We also work with the ambulance.
We do.
Correct?
I
You can
just
talk
helped
a little
them
bit
get
about
up
those two
a
entities.
pretty solid internet connection. The state of Connecticut offers CEN through University of Connecticut. Great fiber offering. That's how we get our internet here. We were actually able to get them on the way to getting that set up. We actually just worked with CEN to get the town connected by way of Sarah Noble to my building. To give you an idea, they're covering that cost, about $100,000. They, as long as everything aligns, are going to get a build out all the way to Scoville from Sarah Noble, again on their dime. So if we can pull that off, to the mayor's point, we are also working as services in kind with the Housatonic Valley Health District. We are working closely with them with a lot of what they're doing to serve our constituents. We are working with the 3 fire departments. I've heard you ask us a lot about what ARPA is doing. I get a firsthand account of what all the departments are doing because of my role in this organization. Other than facilities and maybe the mayor, not a lot of people see into each and every department. The fact that the fire departments now have iPads in a number of their apparatuses that give them the ability to see where they're going, the risks that they're about to encounter when they do so, the information they need to be able to safely enter the building, whether it's a hoarding situation, maybe there's a propane tank out back. They didn't have that before. They had radios, and that was it. Now, they have 21 of them, I believe, plus 3 for each of the officers. They have that information. It comes right from dispatch through the software that they have, and it's right in front of them to be able to respond accordingly. That's huge.
And also, Dave, when I first became mayor, we had a CRM tool that was actually housed within the Department of Public Works, which is called Cartograph. Looked at that system and thought how wonderful that is. The system can take a job, break down the costs from not only the material to the manpower to everything else, and now we're actually going to be rolling them out into different departments as well to help harness those efficiencies.
Yeah, absolutely. They have offerings for a number of our parts of our organization. They have offerings for park and recreation, which we're currently working to roll out. They have offerings for everything from building facilities to water treatment facilities. These may sound like familiar things. It's great when you have our organization working within the same utility. You can lessen costs. What he has to purchase to manage his department doesn't have to be completely repurchased. Great example, Cartograph. We have unlimited seats as far as users. So I don't have to buy a license for Dan, for Graham, for Victoria, for all the park and recreation staff. We just have to buy into the platform that allows us to use it for the inspections of park equipment, for the maintaining of the trees that he has, the docks. It really works to our favor. The same thing with Viewpoint Cloud. The fact that almost every one of our departments that has a permit to offer is able to leverage that. It really reduced the costs, and it makes it way more accessible for the public, which is really one of the biggest end goals. If you're asking someone to come to you for a permit, lay out the red carpet. Make it as easy as possible for them.
Tom?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Dave, I remember when you first came here, the beard didn't have the white in it. Neither did I when I first started this 15 years ago.
Yep.
But I got to tell you, from my perspective, and I've said this year over year, I am so proud of you and your department and what you've done to take us from where we were back in the day. And Walter was sitting next to me, and many of the others in this room were there, where we never got a straight answer out of the last IT guy. And I always felt that there was an issue. And when you came along and put the spotlight on it, I'll tell you, I know it it turned the mayor's hair a little whiter too, and mine, and many of us in this room, to realize how exposed this town was for so long.
Yeah.
And the fact that we were just not keeping up with technology. I mean, when I first got involved, we were on green screens. You know, the council set up a subcommittee, an IT transformation committee, where we had half of IBM in town. They all came in and started pointing out where we were deficient. The former guy never did anything for years.
Right.
You know, we got Munis, which started the ball rolling, but when you came and brought, you know, and assembled this team, it staggers me the work that you get done and what you've done to protect the town. I am very proud of you and everybody in your department. Thank you.
Appreciate that. And if I may, as you pointed out the team, as you mentioned, I've mentioned this once or two times. We have two other guys, and they're both frankly young guys. They're one of them came to us pretty much fresh out of college. Another one's actually still in college. He's going for, I believe, his master's right now, and I'm hoping I'm not lying. If it's not that, it's another degree above it. But with that being said, we have a ticketing system, one of our additional costs here that allows us to track the tickets. Last count, I think we went live towards the end of July. We already have 1,200 tickets in that system, just to give you an idea of the workload. And I'd be lying if every time someone tapped me on the shoulder and said, "Hey, Dave," if I remembered to go back and put the ticket in the system. With that being said, we've gotten 200 reviews. One review out of all 200 of those reviews was 4 stars. The rest of them 5 stars.
Awesome.
I cannot thank my team enough for all that they do. The fact that we're able to sustain as many organizations as we support, and still, when someone calls, ask the mayor. I don't know that there's many times that I don't pick up his call, and for better or for worse, that's not because of special treatment. If someone calls, we try to answer. If we're tied up, we get to them as quickly as possible. We have a job to do, and our job is to make sure everyone else in this organization can do theirs. And if we're not showing up, then...
The efficiencies have been staggering the last decade, but especially the last 6 to 8 years. It's just fantastic.
One other thing, if I may, the staff at large is hugely responsible for where we are with cybersecurity. We get emails constantly. I think I've given this example before. Our payroll clerk gets emails all the time from people pretending to be Jack Healy, for example. That's a recent one. Here's my new direct deposit information. Not him. Not that guy's paycheck. But because Deb is able to look at that and say, wow, red flags all over the place. This didn't come from Jack's email. I know that this is... She's able to stop those things, and we get them all the time. We even get real ones too. Most recently, our staff told us about it. That's why we knew. One of our neighboring municipalities, their fire marshal's office got their email, a specific email account was breached. Emails were coming from the fire marshal's legitimate email, as if, like, for example, if it was Kevin, and it was going to everyone. It was going to town employees too, but our staff looked at that and said, why would the fire marshal from this municipality be engaging me? Why would they be asking me for this information? They let my office know. We were able to let the municipality at large know and retract those messages. So if it wasn't for the fact that our staff is on top of what they are doing at large, I could be doing everything and more than I'm doing right now. But if our staff wasn't paying attention to what it is that we're asking them to pay attention to, and believe you me, they get hit all the time by us from 1,000 different angles of these are the things you need to watch out for. We test them every 2 weeks. They get an email that comes from us. I know they love it. But with that being said, they're on top of their game. They're doing exactly what they need to be doing, and that's why we are where we are right now.
And Dave, as you just mentioned briefly, we do these trainings
Yeah.
through the system. There's one that we take annually. It gives you an assessment.
Yep.
That then spits out kind of what training that you may or may not need.
Yeah.
And then you do the phishing exercises. So as you said, that's borne tremendous fruit by our own employees letting us know about these could be malware issues.
And that costs us $4,000 to $5,000 depending on the fiscal year so far. It a little bit more now that we've added in the library. The library is now part of our email system as well. But yeah, it's the security awareness proficiency assessment grades you on 7 different things like passwords, human firewall, like I talked about, the staff recognizing malicious things, and we're municipal staff. We are not necessarily stretched thin, but every moment we can get back, we will harness. So if I had to assign every single training to every single user, that's that much time that they're away from the public, that they're away from their job. So we do these assessments to see, where are you? And if you get a perfect score on passwords, I'm not going to assign you a training regarding passwords. You've shown you're proficient. But if you don't get all 3 questions right on social media, then you're going to take a 15-minute course on social media. And if you fail all of those, you still have an hour of training, which is what you would have gotten in the very first place had we not been doing the assessment that allows us to decide exactly what you need. So it's not like we're adding additional time to them, but we are able to assess and appropriately assign training to make sure that they're really getting just what they need to focus on. And I also hope if you don't have a mountain of training to attend to, it allows you to be a little bit more focused when you go through them, because at the end of the day, computer-based learnings are not exactly enthralling, and when you do hour after hour, sometimes things don't always sink in.
Katie?
Dave, I think you do a great job, and I'm glad you mentioned your backup. I don't know, I can't remember the name of the newest guy, but Ken,
Yep.
between you and Ken, when it was just the two of you, it was still excellent response and taking care of things. So kudos to you all.
I appreciate that.
And I
Shane is our new
appreciate that
hire.
you have sort of fail-safe things in place for all the people, because it's a lot of people. It's like a corporation, so, good job.
I appreciate that.
Shane's awesome. He's the third.
Shane, yes,
Yep.
yes.
Shane
Chris?
is doing pretty fantastic for us.
Chris?
Thank you. Yes, so I'd like to echo certainly what Tom and Katie have said. David, you've done a phenomenal job. Upgrading the team is an understatement. You've really advanced this team immensely in the few years you've been here. And to do it with three people, and if I look at it from a business side, a $40 million organization, doing it with three people, I think you do it very efficiently. And I know you mentioned it slightly, but I also want to give you special recognition. As I'm on the board of the Houstonic Valley Health District, you've really helped the district secure its system, and of course that system also serves the people of New Milford. But that health district would be in trouble IT-wise without your help, and you've been in meetings at night, on your own time and that. So I greatly appreciate it. I want to acknowledge your help there. So thank you.
Thank you for pointing that out. I appreciate that.
Any other questions? Walter?
Well, to me, it sounds like a bump of $26,000 is well needed and deserved.
Absolutely.
Dave, you're on.
Hey Dave,
And-
is this a SISA or SISSA? How do you?
Charlie Indigo Sierra Alpha, CISA.
Thank you.
And Dave, piggybacking on Walter, so it's a bump of about 26,144. If your budget was reduced to zero, right, so the same as last year, what would you have to reduce?
So I did a little bit of homework because I'm not going to lie. I watched some of the other town council with the Board of Finance meetings, and I've heard this once or twice. Honestly,
Thanks for
I
being
wouldn't be
honest.
doing my job if this wasn't already trimmed down, right? I don't come to you with things that are warm fuzzy. So just to give you an example, that training know before that we just talked about, get rid of that. We use encrypted email, so that way when we send emails back and forth to our constituents with sensitive information, it can't be intercepted by a man in the middle. That'd be gone too. The antivirus that we use to protect our computers, we can get rid of that. This is a small one, only $300, but I had to round up the numbers here. Phoronix, this is what we use to lock down our public workstations. That risk assessment that I mentioned in the beginning. When I first started here, you could sit in front of one of our public workstations and access the servers in the PD. You would have to have a little bit of know-how, but connectivity-wise, the roads were there. Not only that, people are using them all the time. You can never control what an end user is going to do with those computers. Not to say that there's inherent malicious intent, but someone mistakenly deletes all the icons in the desktop. The next person shows up, can't use that computer. So we configure them to exactly how they need to be, and then we lock them down. And then that ticketing system that I, again, will remind you, we have 5 stars somehow. I'm so proud of my team for that. That's another $4,000. That would be gone too. That's how we manage all of our workload. 3 guys can't manage 1,200 tickets in 6 months without some kind of system of record. So that would still leave me to try to find another probably $1,000 or so. But those are the kinds of things we would have to drop off. And honestly, there's not a single item on this line that I would say, yeah, it'd be great to get rid of that. We really don't need these things. Even the smallest thing, Uptime Robot, that's $100. That's how I know something is down before my staff has to call me.
Yeah,
Thank you, Dave.
No, we want that.
Any other questions for Dave?
Dave?
Katie?
Dave, just one quick question. How did you get in touch with or learn about cybersecurity and infrastructure security agency?
The CISA.
Yeah.
They are screaming from the rooftops. They want every municipality to know about them.
Only municipalities they deal with?
They are in the SLTT space, so you would have to be a state, local
Right,
government,
right.
tribe,
Yeah.
something else in there.
Good. No, I was just curious.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Great.
Any other questions? Thank you, Dave. Great job.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, David.
Okay. Next is the Sewer Commission. And we have Chairman Whitman and some of our
few others.
some of our sewer members here.
Yep, well, I'm John Whitman, Chair of the NMWPCA Board of Commissioners, and our Business and Employee Manager, and Business and Employee Development Manager, Kathleen Teresa, is handing out our budget presentation. And then when she gives hers, she's going to turn it over to other members of our management team to talk about a few of our major initiatives. And our sincere hope is that you'll find our documents and presentation very informative and very clearly stated. There are various helpful items in the packet. There are definitions after some of the things we say, so if you looking at the budget line items, you can always look back at the definitions. And we also have a team photo, courtesy of Mr. Mike Boucher, came and took one, so you get an idea of the depth of our organization. And then the rest of the staff, after Kathleen does her presentation, is going to talk about some of our major initiatives that we're very proud of, and they are all working in concert with the mayor's office. So I'm going to turn it over to Kathleen.
Hey, Mayor,
Chris?
just a question. Is there an electronic presentation here, or is it only hard copy?
It's only hard copy, it looks like.
Do you have, Kathleen, do you happen to have this in electronic?
Yes.
I could,
Oh, okay.
I could scan it tonight and send it out.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and members of the council. So first off, if you see, there's a lovely picture of the staff in front of our building.
Yes.
I was thinking of framing it and autographing it. So, first for tonight, I wanted to start with our salaries and overtime. We do have an increase of 6%, which is basically due to new staff hires. And also, with the staff that we have, our current staff, there are others that are going for a higher certification. So we have ones that are going for certification to wastewater operator. We have one who is currently a 2, who is going for a 3. And then just a lot of training and everything, which goes into our
And
employee
Kathleen's-
expenses.
Sorry to interrupt
That's
you,
okay.
before the council and Board of Finance, when you're talking about 6%, that's also in addition to a new hire.
Yes, we had like 2
So
new
you had
hires.
an increase in personnel,
Increase in
and
personnel
then you had
and.
some step increases.
Yes, step increases, increase in personnel, and also due to the certifications, they do get an incentive to go to the next level, which, because our staff is very hungry to learn and.
And should be trained, right?
So next is our employee expenses, benefits, which is a 2% increase, which also has to do with hiring the new staff. They require training. They go for their OSHA 30. All of our staff has the OSHA 30s, flagger training for the new hires and the current staff. And they also have confined space training. And the current staff that we have, besides the new hires, they keep going for this training to stay certified. Our next category is utilities, which we did take a 6% decrease, which is due to the fact that when we did the budget last year, we weren't sure with the utility rates, with electric, how it was going to pan out for the rest of the year because they were high at the time. Then Eversource has lowered them. So for this budget season, we decided to step it back just a bit because we figure we're a little under budget on that, so we're going to even out. For our laboratory costs, there is a 1% increase, which basically has to do with the increase of supplies that we need for the manufacturing process for instance, what is it, our chlorine? our hypo.
The ultraviolet light disinfection system and chlorine for odor control and pump stations.
And the alum.
Aluminum sulfate for
Important.
phosphorus removal.
All important.
Then we have our maintenance category, which is a 12% increase due to we are initiating a CMOM program, which is, if I remember correctly, capacity maintenance and operational management, and we're also having a fog inspection program, which we've never had before. So that is something that is going to be new this year, to go out and inspect all the grease traps for all the restaurants and everything, to make sure they're up to par, they're being cleaned, and they maintain a proper cleaning schedule. Then we go to our process expense, which we stepped it back a little bit to we decreased it by 1%, which is basically due to our Synagro contract. With our Synagro contract, they're pretty much the only game in town. They have raised their rates. We never know what they're gonna be, but we're a little comfortable now with seeing how they've been the last few years to step it down just a little bit and hold back. Then for our miscellaneous expenses, which Mike's going to talk about, is an increase due to the nitrogen program with the state of Connecticut. So Mike will be able to explain more about that in the presentation. And then we have our overhead expenses, which increased about 16%, which is basically due to, we have an engineering costs with Wright Pierce that has increased a little bit with them, with some projects that we have going on. And also we have increases and new things where we're having more maintenance programs that we're doing. So we have service maintenance for our boilers and everything that we do on a regular basis now. And our capital expenditures, we are staying the same, and there's no change in that. So overall, it's a 3% increase for the sewer budget. And if I may, I'd like to turn it over to Ken Cook, who could talk to you more about the process.
Thank you, Kathleen.
You're welcome.
Good evening. Ken Cook, Operations Manager. If you'll turn to page 6. We'll review some of our major maintenance initiatives, starting off with our fog program. The purpose of the Water Pollution Control Authority's fog program is to aid in the prevention of the accumulation of fog, which is fat, oils, greases, going into the town sanitary system. It reduces the potential for backups, clogs, SSOs, your sanitary sewer overflows, things of that sort. The program outlines the wastewater treatment requirements for the food preparation establishments and other commercial facilities that discharge the fogs into the system. We are currently modernizing our fog program to ensure that all food production facilities are in compliance with both state and local guidelines and laws. These upgrades will include a online-based reporting system, which will be new. It will incorporate the food production establishment with the hauler and ourselves at the WPCA. What it'll do is incorporate a timeline as to when the last cleaning was done. So the restaurant is notified that it's time for them to clean. It notifies the hauler the last time that they cleaned this facility, and it's time for them to re-clean. It notifies us as to when the last time it was cleaned and when it's time for it to be recleaned. So we can contact them, they can contact the haulers can contact them and let them know it's time to maintain your system. It also will give, which isn't in here, also it will give training to the restaurants and the haulers for proper cleaning of their facility and their traps and their agros, which is an internal under-the-counter accumulation system, if you will. In addition, it allows all the clean by hand, which are the agros, to be cleaned in-house rather than having a service provider come in for required payment on that. Unless it is found that the records are not maintained, at that time we will require an external service to come in and clean those so that we can verify that the records are there. We have determined the food production establishments that wish to clean their ag-roos, which are, again, those units under the sink. This also goes back to the in-house cleaning. If they're properly cleaned and the logs are kept, we allow that to happen. The records must be kept for a period of 5 years. This doesn't matter if it's an in-ground grease trap or an under-the-counter grease trap, so that we can log that maintenance was properly done and who was maintaining the system, whether it was in-house or you had a service provider providing it. The cleaning must be done every quarter, 3 months, or as it gets as needed. The ag room must be visually inspected. The screening baskets, which are part of that item, must be cleaned every day, dumped. It grabs the solids that are coming through the system. All rendered grease must be disposed of properly by a licensed vendor. Your records must be kept, again, for 5 years. If a vendor grease recovery service is not used by a food production establishment, special dispensation can be requested. Basically, if you're a very small facility, which we have maybe 1 or 2 in town, that over a year's period of time, they might accrue 5 to 10 gallons maximum. There's nowhere for them to really dispose of it. It's not economical for them to have an outside container to put that in. We'll allow them to bring that down to the plant at a 10-gallon maximum per year. Food solids and grit recovered from the bottom of the grease trap. Again, this is an agri unit in-house, can be discarded into the garbage can. Page 7, we'll go over some major initiatives and accomplishments that we have here. We have started an Arch GIS project. We had one. We found that there were massive errors in it, so we have incorporated Wright Pierce to come on board with this. This has been an ongoing project for close to a year now. We have it in hand. We are now working out the bugs in it. We got a SCADA upgrade. We've completed the firmware upgrades on our SCADA system for us. That was done by Aaron's. We refurbished our flushing unit, which is a major piece of our CMOM equipment. You saw the increase on CMOM. That's necessary to remove all the clogs and backups that we don't see right now but occur because we have clogging in our lines. That goes in and cleans and sweeps all that out for us. We purchased an outfitted new truck that allows for mobilization of our new employees, to drag more equipment out to the field. We got a crawler camera now that we're pulling out, plus the flusher, so we have 2 trucks out in the field, one back at the plant for emergency calls. Got asset evaluation that we're trying to get undergoing. Again, this will take Wright Pierce out in the field. They will assess and prioritize our pump stations as to what pieces of hardware are out in the field that need to be replaced, or pieces that are coming to end of term that have no replacement. We'll see if we need upgrades. Organizational asset activities and evaluations, pretty much some bullet points. They are answered at the end of the bullet points. I'll review them real quick. Are we up to date? WPCA job descriptions available that delineate responsibilities and authority for each position. Are the following items discussed for each job description: the nature of the work to be performed, minimum requirements for each position at the plant, necessary special qualifications for certification. How often do we meet as a group? What incentives, are there incentives offered for the employees to increase their certification and knowledge and job skills? Does the WPCA communicate and coordinate with other municipal departments? Who and how? Are there additional communication methods? We use radio, cell phones, internet, emails. Are there opportunities for cross-training personal development? On that one, we cross-train everybody for every function across the plant. If you come to the plant, you might start in one spot. You will be cross-trained in every spot. That way we can cover every position no matter who's out. Are all field employees trained in the maintenance and operation of the sewer collection system and pump stations? I just pretty much answered that by stating the cross-training. We cross-train every faction of the plant. Is there an established program for collection system maintenance and flushing? That's your CMOM program. Does the WPCA have a formal enforceable fog inspection program? We do, and we're about to start enforcing it. We have inspections coming up. Matt Wolk will be going out, and we will be doing man inspections of the restaurants, the schools, and any other facilities that do cooking. So, with that, I will turn it over to Mike, and he
Cook?
can explain a little bit further
Hang
about.
on one second.
Yes,
Katie?
sir, ma'am.
Thank you, again, very thorough. I just have a couple quick questions, and I think you explained a lot of things. How did, or now, I know now, but how did people who had to use, the FOG program? Okay, so I'm a restaurant, I open up, you mentioned sometimes people didn't know. How were they informed of what they were supposed to be doing?
There was pre-existing regulations. They just weren't up to date, if you will. So every restaurant that was coming into town, they were already required and had the knowledge of grease traps being required, whether they were under-the-counter grease traps or in-ground grease traps.
Okay,
Some of what we are going to be requiring in the future has yet to make the regulations. When those are entered into the regulations, that we brought to the public.
okay.
And that will further enhance our FOG program.
And one other question, you said that quarterly you clean the agru, is that what you?
Minimum.
Minimum, right. And-
If you read the manufacturer's information that comes out with an agru, they will tell you that at 25% of capacity of solids on the bottom, it doesn't matter if it's an agru or if it's an in-ground grease trap, it requires cleaning.
So, but that's again left to the owner of that unit to understand what they should be doing. But
Yes.
now I'm getting that.
Yes,
you-
ma'am, and
Yeah.
with the online training that we have picked up, it will show them the proper way to clean their underground, or
Right.
excuse me, their in-ground
Yeah.
or under-counter grease traps.
Well, I think it's amazing. These programs are wonderful, and I'm so glad that you're, and you friends
Well, it's a
over
lot
here,
easier to do
you're on
this
it.
when you're offering education with something you're trying to enforce.
Yeah. Well, I think a lot of people probably see what they have, somebody says something to them, and they say, fine, and they leave, and next thing you know, they're clogged up.
Well, if you don't see it, it's easy to forget about it.
That's right. Well, thank you, Ken, that was
Very well.
very thorough.
Any other questions for Ken? Mayor?
I have kind of two. You have a sludge disposal cost. Do you have a grease cost? And lastly, where does it really go after it leaves the Milford?
Everybody wants to know that.
Downhill.
Where does the sludge go, or where does the grease go?
Both.
The sludge will go to Synagro. Synagro predominantly will incinerate it. The grease right now goes to Wind River. I believe, don't quote me on this, Danbury has a very large green initiative right now where they're trying to turn all the fats in the area to a biofuel.
Right.
So we send it to Wind River. It is a loss for us. We lose on our grease. We are taking a look at that as well. We will probably take a stronger look at that in March with our rates and charges. Personally, I am hoping to eliminate most of the grease that comes to our plant, as we are currently, it's a 1-for-1. We load it, we do not decant, it goes down the street. We don't want it in our system.
Yeah.
It takes too much for us to process it, and it's not good for our system. So the best thing for us to do is keep it out of the collection system, keep it out of our wastewater system.
What do you mean,
Down the street. That's wondering too. It goes down the street, you said.
Did I say it goes down the street?
Yeah.
It goes down to Wind River. Wind River takes it down to Danbury. Danbury's got a green initiative.
Oh, okay.
They're turning it into a biofuel. I'm
I
sorry
was
if I
gonna stop
misspoke.
going down there. Yeah, down to Danbury.
I beg your pardon. It goes down to Danbury.
Alex?
Good catch.
Do you know roughly how many restaurants, built schools, et cetera?
Our count right now is over 100.
100. And does this include?
We have to verify that everything that we've got on our records is still current and valid.
But kitchen inspections are done by the health department as well.
Yes, ma'am.
And they do address the grease traps. This is in addition to?
This is in addition to and actually incorporated with, because they help us with our regulations, they help us with any enforcement.
Wonderful, okay. So what about churches that run kitchens?
If they run a kitchen and they have a grease trap, we will be in there to inspect.
Okay. Got
If
it.
they're connected to our collection system, we are required to inspect them.
I used to work a kitchen, so I know how this works.
I've worked in several myself, and I know how cumbersome they can be if you're not on your toes.
That's right. Yeah. Been there. How many full-time staff and how many part-time staff?
We have no part-time staff currently.
Okay. I'm sorry?
11.
11 total people?
11 full-time.
Thank you.
Okay. And I know we still have
One
continuing
more.
presentations.
Yep.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Cook.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Michael Ducey, the Chief Operator for the New Milford WPCA. Our nitrogen program was initiated in 2002 to control the hypoxia problem in Long Island Sound. It's basically a nutrient that travels from us via the Housatonic River, and it eventually ends up in the Long Island Sound. And the ill effects that were happening was hypoxia, and that was due to low dissolved oxygen levels that were in the sound because of basically the algae would die off and consume all the dissolved oxygen out of the water, and it wreaks havoc basically with like lobsters, mollusks, and bivalves, clams, because they can't get out of Dodge. They're stuck there, so they die, which affects the fisheries and agriculture and whatnot. So with the nitrogen program and the expansion of the plant has nitrogen removal in it in the last upgrade, and it works fabulous. There's a lot of tankage, a lot of devices, and it's basically a big biological experiment. So what you have to do is control all of the organisms. They're basically the workhorses that remove the pollution and nutrients from the water for us. At our plant, the nitrogen that was once aqueous goes in, and certain bacteria utilize what the nitrogen are bound to, and ultimately at the end of the reaction, the nitrogen is airstripped back up into the atmosphere, which basically most of our atmosphere is composed of, so it's benign. It doesn't cause any harm to the environment. So in regards to that, that's where, we have to spend money on taking care of the tanks and making sure they're clean. There's the nitrogen credit system that Connecticut Deep in New York formed, where you have a limit. The town of New Milford's limit is 28 pounds. So annually we're allowed to discharge 28 pounds of nitrogen. If we go over, then we have to buy credits. So betwixt these 79 sewage treatment plants, they have money that they trade back and forth to keep these nutrient levels down that increase the health of Long Island Sound. And it works well. It's reduced nitrogen 65% by 2014, and it'll only get better. And this works in conjunction with the MS4 program that the DPW has, because ours is a point source of nitrogen, where the street runoff on the MS4 is non-point source. So they're trying to get all the nutrients under control for the health of the sound. And that's about it.
Any questions? Tom?
Remind me, Walter was here. When did we approve the plan?
Oh my gosh, that
Oh,
was 2000.
man, it was like 2010, wasn't it?
I think it was like
It was
20.
my first or second year here.
I think it was 28, something like that.
We were up against a
2008.
$25,000 a day fine
Oh, yeah.
if the town did not approve it. And we made the case here, Walter was with us and Pete, and we didn't have that nitrogen digester. And we got a $30+ million plant, because the way we bought it, which is the way we still buy things in this town, for $22 million.
Mm-hmm.
So we didn't kick the can down the road then, just like we're not kicking the can down the road now with a lot of the projects that we fund through ARPA and some of the others. But I just wanted to bring a little history to this.
Mm-hmm.
We were up against it back then. And luckily, we were smart enough to buy a $30 million plant for $22 million.
Oh, yeah.
And saved the town a ton of money and avoided the nitrogen fines that were upon us.
Yeah, I was looking at the nitrogen loading, and prior to the nutrient removal system that we have now, right now, it's weather drives it as well. If we get a lot of rain or temperatures, because it's all bacterial activity, so too
Well,
much
put it this
rain will
way.
affect the hydraulics and.
No one would be rowing down that river in a scull the way it used to be back in the day. I can tell you that now.
Yeah, and I was looking at it, and, you know, we generally do not have to pay. We only have to pay periodically if there's
Spike.
bad weather or some kind of consequence, and that doesn't happen often because we keep it managed and everything under control. If we didn't have that plant, and that also does phosphorus removal too, biologically, and we have a phosphorus limit, which we could be fined on too. It's a 5.76 pound seasonal cap. And I don't know the exact number. I'd have to go look at my records, but I think we average at about 3 pounds to 2 and change. So we're right in the middle.
We made a huge impact with that plant, and you guys did a great job managing it, from the fishing to the waterways. I mean, my office is right alongside of it. You don't.
We try and limit the use of alum,
Yep.
which is getting expensive in this day and age, and try and get it to work all biologically. That's the amazing aspect of that plant is
It's awesome.
it's everything that you can't see with your eyes under the microscope that are doing all this work, removing pollution. It's a fabulous system.
Thank you for all you do, folks.
You're very welcome.
Quick question. So you said in 2008, the nitrogen was at a healthy place. That you had a statistic, you said, from 2008? Or I don't know what you said, 14 maybe,
They lowered the nitrogen loading 65% from the inception of the program, 2002 to 2014.
Okay, and do you know, now it's been 9, 10 years better?
This is the latest, greatest info from
okay.
DEEP, so I'm not sure, but
Yeah.
I can
No, just curious.
positively assume that it's getting better.
Well, you'd probably know if it wasn't. They'd tell you that. Yeah, good. Thank you very much.
Any other questions? Mayor?
I have a kind of personal question. I took a water supply and wastewater treatment course 30 years ago. And at that time, they were talking about your digesters now, of bringing water out of the end that was almost drinkable. We always thought that was a great thing. Is that still what is happening, or is the effluent kind of toxic?
The effluent is actually probably, no, it is cleaner than what's in the river presently because of all the treatment. It would not, I don't know if it could be reclaimed, and with the proper equipment, and if you wanted to spend the money, I would say that you would probably be able to take that water and make it potable, but it would cost a lot of money. But they have certain limitations because the Housatonic River in which we discharge is considered a Class B water body. So that's not for potable water use. It's just for fishing, navigation, recreational purposes, and swimming, but not bathing.
Right.
Which is kind of a...
Swimming.
Yeah.
So in other words, you wouldn't make your coffee with this stuff.
No.
Any other questions? Thank you, everybody. Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thanks for the presentation. Next is Lou and Commission on the Arts, page 180. Lou?
Good evening.
180.
180.
I think you all have some paperwork that I distributed earlier. First, I want to thank you again for supporting the commission. Although we've had some changes in the last year or so, I continue to be really thrilled by the energy and the diversity of the commission. We have continued to do some of the traditional things that we are been known for historically, like, you know, the concerts in August and the carol sing. But we've taken on some new projects as well, and I think that, well, I don't think, I know that one of the things that we've really done more of is to support other arts organizations in what they are, you know, their programs and what they're endeavoring to do, so that I think we're reaching out more into the art community, and we're trying to continue to do that. And certainly when the New Milford is designated as a cultural district, that should also help us to work with the cultural commission, which will be formed after that, and we can work together to make New Milford even more of an art scene. So to the paperwork that you have in front of you, I've given you just sort of a summary on the first page, and our proposal for this coming year is an increase of just $3,600. And it's not due to any one thing. It's due, I mean, we decrease some things and we increase some things. If you look at the proposed budget, for instance, we decreased our budget for material and supplies because we never seem to spend it. But one of the notable increases is that we are in the process of redesigning and rebuilding our website to make it a little more up-to-date, a little more user-friendly, so that we have more of a direct impact into it. And that's a little bit pricey. That's the $3,000 there. We didn't really increase very much our budget for the concerts on the green. Last year, we didn't spend that because, as you remember, it rained every weekend in August. So we have a contract with the concerts that if it's canceled, we do pay them a certain amount, but we don't pay them the whole thing unless we cancel it at the very time that it's called. So we didn't spend that budget last year, but this year we have plans that if there's a rain date, we're going to try to find an inside site so that we'll be assured of having it inside or outside, no matter what the weather. The poetry contest is something, this is one of the new things that we're working with the library and Deborah Rose on the poetry contest, and we have contributed the prize money for that. And another new project from last year is Merwinsville has instituted this glass sphere project where they purchase glass spheres and they hide them at more than a dozen arts organizations around town. And it's really a wonderful project because people then learn about some of the arts organizations that they might not have known before or what they did. And so it's really a great project for, you know, educating the townspeople about the different arts organizations in town. You know, as I mentioned, that we're trying to reach out to other arts organizations. This year, for the first time, we're funding a program at the Historical Society. They have a program about the Civil War, a speaker on the Civil War, people from New Milford that we're funding. And we have started also to fund one event at Marial, which is new. And we have an event coming up at the library of someone who is archiving folk songs. So those are just examples of how we're trying to reach out to different organizations, and so our grants is one area where we've been spending more money. And I think that's pretty much what I have to say. Do you have any questions?
So Lou, I want to first thank you and the commission for your wonderful work, really highlighting the arts. As we all know, I mean, Tom, we've been sitting there, you were on the film commission, that the arts play a very significant role here in New Milford, not only culturally, but also economically. I know I've been to a lot of the receptions that you've had at Gallery 25. And if you go there, you see people from New Jersey, see people from New York, Massachusetts, depending on the artist. And they come in, and they don't come here just to take a sip of wine and leave. They go to our restaurants, to our shops, buy gas. And I know part of our vision for the cultural district, which Ridgefield now has, Torrington, I believe Old Saybrook. I mean, this is all about creating more awareness for the arts, which helps drive our economy here. It's just one part of the building block. So I commend you guys, especially the concerts we have, Edward Kincaid ones that you have on the green. People love them. They sit down, relax, but they'll go to Tasty Waves, or they'll go to Grassroots, or down to All Aboard, get ice cream, or get something from the restaurant. So it's all kind of interconnected, and I really myself want to thank you and the commission for your great work.
Well, thank you. Well, I might add to the Arts Festival, which we revived last year, that worked that way too. I mean, the artists coming from around, and some of the people who sold their things were astonished at the fact that it wasn't just New Milford people who were buying, it was people from all over. So
Will that happen
we hope
again?
that keeps going.
Yep.
Will that happen again this year, right?
Yes,
Yeah,
yes.
it's
We're planning
wonderful to
that
have
on
that back.
June 29th.
Great.
Good.
And
Thank
the
you.
gallery's a nice place to.
Sure
Yes, it
is.
is.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Very nice.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lou.
Thank you.
Next is Park and Rec. Dan? We're gonna start with the
182.
revenues.
Start with revenue?
Well, we'll let them do the presentation, but 42, page 42 is the revenue portion.
And the other one's 182, right?
Yep.
Okay.
The revenues, Mayor, or is on page 42, the revenue part?
Which one is Tom?
What?
Oh, okay.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Dan Calhoun, the Director of Parks and Recreation. I have our Park and Rec Chairman here, Alfred Esposito, and our Program and Events Instructor here, Graham Musson. So thank you for having us here tonight. We just wanted to do a brief overview of currently what we have for parks and town facilities that we maintain. We currently maintain 21 parks in town, well over 500 acres. And then we also maintain most of the town facilities, as you can see by our list. This is done by 5.5 maintainers. We have 5 throughout the year, and then during the summertime we have a split position with Public Works. They keep them during the winter, and we have them for 6 months in the summer months. And then we try to hire some seasonal park maintainers to handle all these properties. Next one. And then I just gave you a brief list of our programs that Grant produces and manages. As you can see, we have a little bit of every category that we could possibly offer. We try to offer every population, whether it's children, teenagers, adults, seniors. We try to offer a little bit for everyone. And it could be arts programs, it could be sports, but numerous things. Next. So our revenue generators. Last year we had a phenomenal year, probably the best year that I've ever seen. And it's due to hard work by Graham and our other staff. Big part of it is our Lindeming Park. As you all know, that's our gem for the town. We have boat slips there, we have boat ramps,
We do charge fees for park stickers, the boat launch, but other revenue generators are our programs. And we have concessions in the parks, which is another generator. We rent out our pavilions. We have kayak racks, numerous things in town to offer to the residents of New Milford. This year, we're hoping to have another wonderful revenue year. We have a lot of great programs and things coming forward. So,
And Dan, if we could stop here first and talk about the revenues. So revenues this year, you're at $650,884. Last year, you had projected $594,887, and this was the best year that I can remember you having last
The
year.
rainiest summer, by the way, and we had the best year.
Exactly.
Really?
Which
I
was,
washed out quite a bit on a lot of
which
things.
was, so you're looking projected to increase your revenues about 56,000. It's actually 55,997. Most of it is in your recreation department fees. If you could talk a little bit about that and how we're going to get those up about 48,000 from
sure.
the previous year.
I'll go briefly, and I'll let Graham talk, but we have, one is our summer camp program. We made some major changes to our summer camp program a couple years back, and then last year we made some even additional changes. It's becoming more popular than it used to be. We changed it. We used to be only a 6-week program. You had to sign up for the 6 weeks. Now we go weekly, or you can do it at a discounted rate if you do the whole 6 weeks. So summer camp is one of the programs. One is all the programs we listed there that we'll be offering this year. So that's on the recreation side. Graham, if you want to add to that?
Yeah, absolutely. In terms of like some new programs that we brought in, there was an adaptive water skiing program that we did last year that we're looking to bring back this year. That's really helpful for any parents that have it. A, it's for all ages, but B, we were especially seeing a good response from parents with children that they're either physically disabled or some kind of mental development issues. But we had a handful of them come out. It was still during the school year, and that was just part of the school year ended right at the end of June, and this group could only work with us in June. So they're coming back this year. The school year is going to end earlier, not getting a ton of snow days and stuff in school there. So we've got stuff like that going. We've got our kayak program that got started up just before I came in. We've got the equipment now. We're looking for the instructor now. That's going to be a new program that we want to get stuff going through late spring all the way through early fall. In terms of other program stuff, like, yeah, Dan was touching on the summer camp stuff we're trying to do. With that, we didn't have to increase the registration fee for camps this year. Thankfully, bus rates did not jump up astronomically. They went up $5 an hour. So between that, cutting some things that we didn't need and weren't getting the most use out of. So where we could cut things to still make our programs as good as they are. And that's my focus, is get rid of the things we don't need to do, improve the things that we already have, and then try and bring in new things that are going to do even better.
I know Graham talked a little bit, highlighted about kind of tweaking things.
Yep.
So I know one of the things that we saw kind of, for a better vernacular, kind of the hole in a summer camp program were those kids that pretty much went to Schaghticoke in that area.
Yep.
And we know that particular cohort, so to speak, through analysis when we talk to our educational partners. A lot of those kids, especially during COVID, had a very rough time.
Yes.
That was one of the schools that had most of their computer terminals turned off during cohort times, during hybrid learning and fully remote learning.
Yep.
And you tweak that, and now we're seeing a tremendous growth in people bringing their children into that, as well as all of the programs. But if you could kind of highlight to the council and those that are watching, kind of tweaking that a little bit to make that so where it's real advantageous to those kids wanting to come to that program.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the biggest piece for Schaghticoke this past year and what made it more successful than previous years was just getting some new staff in there and getting some new mindsets in there. So we needed a new director in there. She was able to come in. And I give her all the credit in the world. We had someone for the position, had to back out. We found this person with about 2 weeks to go. So in that amount of time, was able to come up with new programming ideas for on-site, how to best do all of our trips that sometimes we're doing trips locally, whether it's just like over to Clatter Valley, over to Lindeming, but then some of our field trips that are more off-site. Like everything that I had heard from when I came in here is that like it's a notoriously tough site, it's a notoriously tough age group, and this is someone that was able to come in and just really take advantage of her ideas and her experience and really try and turn that place around. We brought in it was all new staff there, all new counselors, all new director, but they all want to come back. The counselors want to move into supervisor positions, so they have that buy-in that they want to come back and not only be a part of the camp, but be a part of that leadership team as well. So just new ideas and new faces coming in.
Yeah, it's a tough
Any
age.
questions on the revenue piece? Alex?
Yes. With regard to programs.
Yes.
New Milford's becoming a very diverse cultural community.
Yes, it is.
And do you envision programs that will accommodate some of the different cultures? We have a pretty heavy increase in certain cultures, and it's come up because we were in the schools on tours, and they're talking about things that need to be done because we need to learn about each other's cultures more. Is there any discussion about programs like that?
So let me ask a clarifying question. Like with that, do you mean just trying to like diversify what we offer to hit more people in town, or are you talking about like culturally specific programming?
To get more people involved from different cultures.
Oh, absolutely. So like one of the things we're doing is right now we're trying to generate a whole bunch of surveys just to get more feedback on the things that we already offer as well as the things that we're not currently offering. So that way we can see where some of those gaps are. I know these two can attest to it. When I started here, it's officially 1 year to the day since I started here.
Really? Oh my goodness.
Thank you. But when I did, one of the things I specifically talked about was I want to identify those areas that are a little underserved, whether it's culturally, different age groups, different demographics, and being able to identify, okay, what's going to get them interested in what we do? Because it's more about what the philosophy of recreation is in the first place. It's just to be able to provide people with opportunities to socialize, to get out. Like, it's not always about the physical and just the active. So, like, on some side of things, we've got a very popular cricket program that's going on, and that goes on in Clatter Valley. There's always stuff going on there, and they've got, we do additional programming options through them. In the school system, we just introduced the Odyssey of the Mind program, which is doing well so far.
Amazing
They're going to
program.
competition next month.
Yeah.
Like the kayak program that we're going in. So it's trying to touch on different backgrounds, different economic capabilities. So it's also that mix of the things that we offer, trying to offer some options that are more affordable as well. So it's trying to keep those things in mind.
And also, Graham, if you could touch upon one of the things that you were really a cheerleader for, was bringing in the water sports for Lindeming for those that have not as may have a limb that's missing, may not be able to grab it, they may not have a hand, so you brought in a team to come in and teach kids how to kind of water ski that way. If you could talk a little bit more about that.
And also on the spectrum, it's not just physical limitations.
Yeah, so this is a group called Leap of Faith Skiers. They operate out of Southbury. They're completely grant funded, volunteer provided, so they're an incredibly good program. Very capable people. I was very impressed with what they do. They also brought some of their own people, so they have like a national champion, like the best blind water skier in the country. He's regularly doing stuff with them. We had some people down there that primarily operate out of a wheelchair on a daily basis. Some, like, whether it's you're missing a limb, whether you just don't have the physical capability to kind of learn how to water ski typically on your own, they have the adaptive equipment to do so. So that's that next piece there. And that's why I want to bring it back.
I also think what's wonderful, Dan, if you could talk a little bit about your partnership with social services. So there are kids that we know that would have no availability at all to have a summer.
Yeah, we have, we've been doing it for many years. We offer a scholarship program with social services, where people that come to social service that are in need, that can't afford to go to summer camp, they have scholarships available. If they qualify, they usually give up to 50% off of the rate for summer camp to allow them to participate in summer camp and some other programs. Actually, we had a gentleman in the other day, came in to see me. He said, I have a physical handicap. I'm having a tough time with funding. He asked me about a park sticker. So I took a walk down to see Ivana, and she said, yeah, I know this gentleman. We will take care of it. We'll make sure he gets a scholarship for this program to be able to get a park sticker for the season. So that was just one of those nice things that came through.
Diane?
That's fantastic. I love everything that I've heard so far. So going to your summer camp options, so you offer these for kids from, say, grade school through high school?
Entering grade 1 through entering grade 9, so elementary and middle school kids.
Okay, and it stops at grade 10?
Yep.
Why is that?
Just in terms of what we have the funding for. When I started here, that's just kind of what's been there. If I had to take a guess at it as well, it's once you start to hit that age, that's when the kids are more looking for the jobs as opposed to like looking for the camps to attend.
Okay.
And
are they, excuse me?
I'm sorry to interrupt you. A lot of them transfer to become, once they get to that age, the 15, they want to be a CIT for us.
Sure.
And then after that, a lot of our kids have gone through our program, become counselors and supervisors, so it's a continuation.
Right, okay. And then you also offer camps that are held locally as well as travel camps? Where do the travel camps go?
So it's throughout the week. So like every camp is going to go somewhere in town, and then they're going to go somewhere off-site for Friday field trips. So that's an extra thing that parents can purchase. So when you purchase your registration for camp, that covers Monday through Friday, 9 to 3. There's going to be staff on site supervising your kid and making sure they have as many activities and socialization options as possible. On the Fridays, we offer field trips that go off site. So sometimes we're going to go bowling. We're going to go to the zoo. We go to like jumps down in Danbury, and they get to like jump around on the trampolines and do all that kind of stuff. So it's that opportunity to get them those experiences that they might not be getting at home normally, or just being able to say like, hey, not every day at camp is going to be exactly the same. Sometimes you're going to go do something pretty cool.
And you hire buses and bus drivers in order to do those Friday jaunts?
Yeah, we contracted out from All Star.
That's great, thank you.
That was part of the revamp 2 years ago, where the big feedback from the parents was the kids feel that they're just stuck inside in the middle of the summer. So our whole outlook was, let's get them out of here. And that was part of it.
That's great, thank you.
One other thing I wanted to highlight is one of our requests this year, and Graham can talk on it, is our Red Cross program that we're going to offer.
Yeah, so since 2015, I have been a certified instructor for American Red Cross First Aid, CPR, and AED courses. So that's stuff I've predominantly done through like staff training kind of things. In my previous job, I was teaching courses just as part of a revenue generator for the department. So it's one of those things I'm thinking, hey, it's a service that is good to be able to provide to the town, get more people certified in these kind of emergency response kind of things, but as well as, hey, like I've got the capabilities already. It's not an extra expense for the town for me to have the certification that I just maintain year over year. So try and offer something like that, get some more people certified.
And you know, Graham and Dan, it wouldn't show in the budget book as an expense or as a revenue. But one of the things that we started when in COVID, and just coming out of COVID, again, not to be redundant, we've seen really our whole society in some forms become more aggressive. People not being neighborly, people not helping one another. So we created a thing that basically you're the pinpoint of it. Involves the youth agency. Involves many people as NM Kindness.
Yep.
And we had an NM Kindness Day that was just the past week. If you could talk a little about that. And then NM Kindness Day, this will be our 3rd year in doing so.
Yep.
So those that are watching, and also those here on the council and board of finance, can understand that a little bit more.
Of course. So the idea of New Milford Kind being your initiative there is to promote the idea of kindness, wellness, and anti-bullying kind of stuff throughout the town in whatever way, shape, or form that's going to mean. So one thing we just did this past week is put out, it was the National Day of Kindness. So as part of that, one of our staff members, Denise, she just started this past year, had the great idea to kind of put together a calendar and put together some ideas of what are things that people can do on a daily basis just to consciously be kind. There are plenty of things that we take for granted, and there's a lot of very simple things on there, so it's more just kind of promoting awareness and giving people ideas and giving people the tools to be able to run with that themselves. So as we kind of keep coming up with ideas like that and ways to just find ways to promote it in very easy, manageable things for the public to do. In October, we have our New Milford Kind Day event, which is where we try and bring together as many organizations and resources as possible, so that way people can come out and see what it is the town has to offer, and all these groups that are all dedicated to that sole goal of just promoting kindness.
And you have bracelets?
Walter.
Oh, absolutely.
Kind of a spin-off of that. I always say, when in despair, hug your bear.
Well, you know, Walter, I never heard that anywhere but here,
See?
but it's a
See?
good one.
I like that. I like that.
That's good.
Guys, God bless.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And just real quick, as far as operational expenditures, does anybody have any questions on the operational expenditures? If we could go to the capital, and that's page 216. And you'll notice on the Park and Rec capital, there's an actual reduction in the capital lines.
Yeah.
If you could kind of talk a little bit about that.
Okay, well, most of our capital, thank you, everybody who was a part of it. A lot of our capital is going to be paid through capital surplus. So all those funds are in an account already, I believe, and we'll start working on those. But pretty much all of our requests, except for maybe two that really weren't appropriate, went to you and the Board of Finance and were approved. So we'll be working on that, bid specifications, and try to get all of those taken care of as soon as possible. But there was probably a dozen things that we had requested that were either emergency things that came up or have been in our 5-year plan. So I just want to thank everybody for that, and those are all wonderful things that are going to help the public, whether it be repairing basketball courts or replacing the playground at Emmanuel Williamson Park. One other thing we're going to do at Emmanuel Williamson Park, when we redo the basketball court, do the crack repairs, we're going to add pickleball courts to that.
Say that twice.
We are going to add 3
You got a lot
pickleball
of
courts.
people watching who want to know that, yeah.
We're also going to do some maintenance on the bandstand, which needs
Yeah.
some repairs and painting. We're going to be doing fog sealing, which is something the Public Works already does on some of our roads, which fills in the cracks and makes the asphalt last much longer, and then we'll have everything relined. So we want to protect the investment that we made many years ago to keep that park the way it should be. Lindeming Park.
And Dan, kind of staying on that also, with some of our surplus funds, you've been able to buy vehicles.
Right.
If you could kind of talk about the vehicles you've been able to purchase.
Well, last year's surplus, we were able to buy a new rack body dump truck that we use on a daily basis for pulling our mowers around. We use a trailer to haul our mowers for all over town, whether it be in Gaylordsville or Northville. So that's one piece of equipment, and we use that for numerous things in the winter and spring and summer. We've also received zero-turn mowers in the past.
And Dan, the zero-turn mowers, when you and I first talked, how old were those mowers?
Ours were 12, 15 years old. I remember, I think it was your first year in office, we had an old piece of equipment that were out in the middle of Pettibone when we first took it over mowing, and it died. And,
And these run every day. They're not your home mower once a week.
yeah, this mower's like 12 feet wide. It's for huge areas. And it died. And we weren't able to get the mowing done. And we had some calls that, why aren't we getting this done? You know, there's soccer tomorrow. And our mower was gone. And so after that, we did a program where we're replacing everything on when it should be replaced. So this year I have a new wide area mower that we're looking to purchase. It's actually a 14-foot cut, so we'll be able to cut a lot of grass in a hurry. Like Pettibone and Clatter Valley, those are huge sites that a regular old 8-foot mower or 6-foot mower just takes forever to do.
And Dan, you guys, when we were in COVID, right? Our business continued here at Town Hall. Through COVID, this place, we were operating. Other towns didn't do so much, but we did.
Yeah.
The main focus, though, for a majority of our residents to get out and get fresh air, were in your parks.
Right.
We actually took Clatter Valley, and for half a day every week, it was segmented to just seniors.
Yeah.
They could go out and walk. We actually used the senior center to promote that. If you could kind of tell the public that they maybe not even know, how many parks do we have in New Milford?
We have 21 parks, well over 500 acres. And then all the town office buildings that we take.
To your point, though, during COVID, we were the only beach open on the lake.
That's right.
Because Dan, myself, and at the time Laura Murphy, met with Lisa Morrissey, the health director at the time, in this room for about 4 hours and worked up a way we could come up with a protocol to open our town beach for the summer. We were the only people on the lake.
Right.
We were the only beach in the area. Mount Tom, we were the only beach you could go to. So we took it very seriously to get people outdoors.
We had somebody counting cars as they came in. We were only allowed a certain amount of cars, a certain amount of people. We had to keep people separated on the beach.
We had PVC rings that you would lay
Yep.
so the lifeguards could
Oh,
make
I
sure we
remember
were
that.
keeping the
Yeah.
spacing.
Right.
But we did it.
I thought they were hula hoops.
No, they were what, 12 or 10 foot? I forget
Yeah,
the
they're
number now.
square PVCs,
Yeah.
and we had to
We had
lay
to
them
make
down.
them.
so
Oh,
we
they
had
were
to-
bigger?
And Dan, I know conscientious efforts we've made over these years is a lot of people didn't either know or really didn't use our pavilions at all.
No.
If you could kind of talk to the council now, last year and the beginning of this year, where are we on pavilion rentals?
It's especially Lindeming Park. It gets used constantly. People want to use it. They can rent it for the day, whether a weekday or a weekend. They rent it. Numbers have been up. Clatter Valley is another one that's very popular to rent and reserve for parties, picnics.
If we had more in Lindeming, we would rent them.
Yeah.
Do you have a question, Katie?
Yes, I do. I noticed in here you have the fishing dock repair at Young's Field. There was some concern and nervousness in the Rotary Club because, you know, for the duck race, that's how we get the ducks into the water from the boat. So there was a rumor around that we couldn't have the duck race because the dock had been ruined by the flood. So I said, hang on, I'm going to check.
Well,
And I was told that you were going to fix it.
yes, I don't know
So here
how
you are in
quick-
front of the town. Don't get nervous about this, Camp. I just want to say.
The ducks are counting on you.
Yes, it will be repaired. We did receive funding for it.
Excellent.
I have to contact the dock company and do the specs and get them to come out, and we were able to save parts of it from the flooding. When we had that bad flood,
Yes.
we tried to
of course.
get it out. It was
No.
impossible. It
Yeah.
was dangerous. We have pictures of it. That was probably the worst thing I've seen. But we were able to save portions of it. We had to go pretty far to find it.
Yeah,
It
so
was
I
in
heard.
a couple towns away. But we did bring it back, thanks to the fire company's boat. They brought it back for us. And we have to make a lot of repairs to it.
Well, if you need any help, give me a call. There might be some people at Rotary who would be
Okay.
willing to help you. But thank you for saying it in front of everybody.
Diane?
Thank you. I have a question. You mentioned that 2 items were not included in the, your requests for capital surplus funding. What were they and when will they be requested?
One was a small item. It was for a mower blade sharpener, and that didn't really meet I can take that out of my operating budget. so they didn't think that was appropriate. And there was one other that, it was the power washing. I had power washing of the Lindeming roofs, and they felt that was more of a maintenance thing. Finance
agree with
department
that.
felt that it wasn't appropriate for a capital budget item.
Okay, thank you.
And Dan, operationally, you know, you're up about $53,000 from the year prior. If we were to ask you to go to zero, reduce that by $53,000, what would happen? What would you have to take out?
I thought it was, that would be, it would definitely hurt our department, and it would definitely hurt the population in New Milford.
A lot of these initiatives we just spoke about
Would be gone.
would be gone.
It would be a huge reduction in the services that we offer.
And, you know, keep in mind, state mandated minimum wage and union negotiated contracts drive the majority of that.
Absolutely.
In addition to that, the security company that has been the security for Lindeming, which is our main revenue generator, has told us point blank, we have held the line for 2 years, we can't anymore. Our wages are going up. So we would then have to probably look at shutting down Lindeming one day a week, or limiting those type of amenities to the general public, and cutting some of these programs and services that, you know, we've been trying to grow and build for the towns.
And also, I think you're a pretty good, significant employer to our youth, whether they be lifeguards or those working in the summer camp things. So, you know, I was looking, when you and I talked before, we were looking at some of the expenditures. Obviously, that's a line item that you'd have to look at, and then that's also reducing our youth's ability to find a job.
Well, loss of programs is loss of teen jobs. That's basically where that money goes.
Lots of programs, if there's less money, that's potentially less lifeguard hours or fewer lifeguards, and we're on 2 consecutive years of no drownings over there. We probably have the best lifeguard team on the lake.
Plus the disappointment
We absolutely do.
Yeah.
You
Yeah, I
have
mean,
children with no place to go, parents, you know, it's a complete.
Yeah, like a couple years ago, everybody in the state could not find lifeguards.
Right.
We had a group of lifeguards that stuck with us.
And good ones.
We gave, yeah, great ones. And we gave them
Real good
incentives. We had incentives that we offered, gave them a little more money. It's not like crazy money, but it's a little
Right.
bit more, and we were able to keep this. And now
And
we have a
appreciation.
strong staff that came back, and we have now it's moving down the ladder where now more kids that want to do it. You know, we're getting a lot more kids that are interested in being lifeguards for us.
And the usage of the beach has increased. And it's evidenced by, there are saves on a weekly basis now. Not whistle blowing, get out of the water. Lifeguards in the water saving people's lives. We would have to cut that.
And you
or
wouldn't
cut that
probably
back.
be able to do Graham's program with the Red Cross, because that's very important.
Right.
Very important.
Any other questions for Park and Rec?
I support it.
All right.
We all support it.
Dan,
Just
thank
as long
you
as get
to-
that doc
Thank you,
done.
everyone.
Thank you to the whole staff. Alfred, thank you to the commission.
Thank you guys for everything you do.
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Tom.
Tell Alfred we said hi.
I owe you a hug.
Oh, boy.
Next is Center Cemetery, Miss Snell, 153.
153.
Hi, I'm Susan Sinello, Secretary Treasurer for the New Milford Center Cemetery Association. And I don't have a fancy presentation like some places, but I'm here to make a request for $45,145 for our operating expenses. I know it's a little bit more than usual, but, you know, costs go up. We're an active cemetery. We cover 84 acres, about half of which is occupied, shall we say?
Yeah.
We have 3 employees maintaining the grounds and average 52 interments each year, half of them being caskets and half of them cremations. Just an aside, in January, the Connecticut Cemetery Association sent out a questionnaire about what percentage each cemetery is doing cremations and caskets, and down in the southern part of the state, it's like 70% cremation. So that's the trend. And I guess Channel 8 is having something tomorrow night about cemeteries having trouble with ground, having grounds, room for graves. So we'll watch and see that. We're pretty good. Our sources of revenue are primarily from the grave openings and the sale of burial rights. And we also get monthly checks, it's an EFT, from our investment fund. We don't get cash grants very often because they're not easily obtained for us, but we do get donations in the forms of topsoil, firewood for our wood stove, stone for making concrete for foundations, and millings for our roadways. In 2023, we added a section of road in anticipation of mapping out new sections. We did this with our labor and donated materials, so we tried to keep the cost low. This year, we are planning to add a 64 niche columbarium. We initiated the project last year, and it should be completed soon. I was expecting a call today from the monument company, but I'll be talking to them later in this week, and we'll get some dates down. We have withdrawn money from our investments to cover the cost of this columbarium. But we did use our own labor to supply the foundation so that, again, we can reduce the cost. And we were able to get the concrete poured at a discount. It wasn't donated, but it was at a discount. The decision to add the columbarium was made with an eye to the future, because as I say, the trend is to go for cremations. And we wanted to offer choices to families. Currently, we have, you go in the ground if you're a cremation. Yes. And we have one section left that is dedicated strictly to cremations, and that's filling up. The other alternative is a regular grave, and that's more expensive. So this way, we would have an option. Again, we're asking for a little bit more assistance than we have in the past. It's primarily due to the cost. Last year's budget we blew, but we were able to, because we had a cushion in our savings that we could cover that. We're not requesting any funds for capital this year. We got our Turf Tiger last year and we love it. Thank you very much. We're grateful to the town for all the help we've received, and thank you for considering our request for this year.
And first of all, thank you, the board. Those great employees you have down there. I don't know if most of us know here, but if a cemetery ever goes out of business, do you know who takes it over? The town of New Milford.
Yes.
It would be our own staff,
Ask
our own
Brookfield.
people. Exactly. So to me, this is a no-brainer.
Susan, how many interments did you say you did a year last year?
52.
52, I thought you said. Okay.
That's what we average pretty much every year.
And
we
the
did have one
columbarium
exceptional year.
Is where's it going to go? Back?
The columbarium?
Yeah.
It's pretty much down in the meadow.
Oh, it is.
If you come down the hill and you go around the corner and you come out where it opens up, it's going to be right there so you can see it.
Oh, that's nice.
And it's going to have 32 niches that face the north and 32 that face the south, and black granite. It's going to look nice.
That's nice.
And we're going to try to get some. The suggestion was that we get maybe a Boy Scout to do a Eagle Scout project to put in a walkway to it, for instance, so that.
Good idea.
Yeah.
That's nice.
So it's not difficult for people to get to.
For everything you do.
Any
For a long
questions or
time.
comments? Mayor?
I have a comment and question. Many years ago, one of my neighbors said that the only thing that the town of New Milford was planning for the future, and you could see it, was the cemetery. He said, look, have all that land, it's never going to go to homes. And I stopped, I said, geez, I never thought of it that way. But that goes about 40 years ago, right, when you purchased or at least kept that or opened it up. The other question I have is that you're not the only cemetery.
That's correct.
But you're the only one that's funded by the town. How many other cemeteries are there and that need the
Active
kind of help
cemeteries?
you get?
Active cemeteries, St. Francis is very active. Northville is quasi-active. Morningside, yeah.
Little
Morningside has a very large endowment, from what I understand.
Upper Mariel.
Upper Mariel.
Yeah, Upper Mariel.
But you by far the largest
Yeah.
in size. I mean, the mowing alone, oh my God.
Yeah.
Did you have Pete Hill? The Pete Hill Cemetery?
Pete Hill, is that the one that's, that Adam
Across
Holosick
from
and his
McDonald's?
what?
That one? That's Gallows. Then there's one across from the Faith Church.
At the end of
Gallows is
Mariel
across
Road,
from Faith Church.
going to South Kent. There was a cemetery in there, a family one.
The Pete's are in there.
Oh,
Yeah.
family.
Yeah.
Michael John told me about it,
It's beautiful.
trying to get it maintained.
A lot of these cemeteries are maintained by volunteers.
That's
You know,
right.
the inactive ones, that they don't sell graves anymore, they don't bury anyone,
Right.
and a lot of it is done, we've had meetings about that.
Sure.
Boy Scouts, I remember Mark Macon took kids up to one a few years ago.
Gallows.
Yeah.
Any other questions?
Thank
you
you
very
very
much.
much, Susan.
Thank you, Susan. Next is the Children's Center, page
I didn't see you back there all
169.
this time. Hi.
Hello, good evening.
And here I was wondering if you were coming or not. I didn't know
Oh,
you were
yeah, we've
there.
been here. Good evening. I'm Andrea Miladinov, the Executive Director of the Children's Center of New Milford, and I'm accompanied by Carol Kallstrom, our comptroller, as well as one of our board members, Jennifer Cooley-Brewer. We're happy to be here. Thank you so much. And on behalf of the Children's Center, we are asking the town for an appropriation of $155,000 for the 2024-2025 fiscal year, and this is a 0% increase over last year. This year, we're facing similar challenges to last year's, which included inflation and minimum wage increase, both of which are having a significant impact on our school's budget. Our 2024-25 budget is an increase of 11% over our 23-24 budget. Last year, our 23-24 budget had an increase of 13.6% over the previous year, which is an alarming trend. We're proud of the partnership with the town over the past 53 years in providing quality, affordable care and education to the children of our town. The Children's Center would not be where it is today without the town's commitment to our mission and standards, and for that we're eternally grateful. So if you have any questions between myself and Carol, we'd be happy to answer them.
And real quick, in the supplemental, page 23, there's some more in-depth numbers that you need. And as I say every year, both when I was on town council and as mayor, I cannot thank the Children's Center enough, as the town many years ago asked the Children's Center to take on that endeavor of providing sliding scale childcare, especially to those in need. I was amazed when we had people that have used the Children's Center and they've been able to lift themselves up because of the opportunities that you guys have given single-family parents mainly, those abilities to have a safe environment. I can't thank you enough. I think this is one of the true jewels that we have here in town. We have a lot of them, but I think this is one of the major ones again, and thank you.
Thank you.
Tom?
I want to echo what the mayor said. It is an amazing facility and an amazing group of people that run it. You know, many of us who kind of put our swords up and shields when the attack came years ago on the Children's Center was one of the most pivotal things in all the years that I've been sitting here to see. Anybody or any group would attempt to come after the great work that was done there really kind of stiffened my resolve to stay in this seat and make sure that never happened again.
Thank you.
And as long as I am here, whether I'm in this seat or in this town, I will make sure that never happens again.
Thank you.
You guys are an amazing group of folks, and you do amazing things. Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
So obviously, I think what you do is very, very important. And the children there, it's a wonderful place. I wish I could go and spend my days there. But what Tom just mentioned is true. If anyone made an error in picking something in this town to attack, it was that. And the power of the children and their families who came and spoke about, kids who had already gotten out of college and what it meant, and what their parents thought about what it meant to be there. And you, I know for a fact, are carrying on, and you've done some wonderful things. And I think your staff, of course, is great. But what's really important is that the kids, they really like it, and they think it's great. So that's what, and the way you help parents is just fantastic. So please continue.
Thank you.
Any other questions or comments for the chair?
Mayor?
Alex? Alex and then Chris. Alex?
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, it's amazing that it's a 0 increase, but I see a jump in repairs and maintenance. What?
Correct.
Can I speak to
Yes.
that? That's painting. The building has not been painted in over 40 years, and that includes phase 1 of the painting. But I would note that between Andrea and the board, they were able to get grants to cover the total cost of the painting. So pretty amazing. We have a very strong board, very strong. Andrea is just amazing, so that's kind of exciting. That.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm glad I asked. Thank you.
It's an old building.
my.
It needs a lot of care.
And we're making sure that it's done in phases so that it doesn't intrude with the children being there. So it's done over our breaks and continuing on during the weekends as the weather gets better.
Got it. Wow.
Any other
Great.
questions for the Children's Center?
Mayor?
Yeah, Chris? Sorry.
Yep, no problem. So I'm also a big supporter of the Children's Center, the programs there. I've taken some tours there, and I've just been amazed at what I've seen, and I've heard a lot of the stories of the families that have gone through there, and it really is an amazing place. Having said that, Susan Johnson was the director there for many years, and I don't know how to describe her other than I think kind of a force of nature. And she was amazing at
That's true.
not only running that place but doing it efficiently. How are things going in the transition?
It's going great. Thank you for asking.
Chris, I can attest to the fact that I loved Susan also, but it didn't take me long to really turn into a great affection for Andrea. She's really got it in hand. You should go up and sit and chat, and you'll see.
I most definitely will. Thank you.
And she's such a value add because, as you know, we have, a bilingual,
Yes.
people, the families that come. And so Andrea is just a godsend in working with them and having them understand everything. And it's been great.
Indeed.
That's great to hear.
Any other questions or comments?
Keep it up.
Thank you very much.
Thanks.
Thank you, ladies.
Thank you. Next is the Housatonic Valley Association, 186. Mayor.
Oh, Bob, you going to talk
The
about
HVA.
No, that's the wrong. Housatonic Valley, no, I am Housatonic River.
I think
that?
that,
Oh,
I think that's what this is, right?
it is the River Commission.
Yep.
Yes. Look at page 186. It's the River Commission. There was a typo here. What does it say? Housatonic Valley Association, but it's really the river.
It's the river.
Well,
Tell us about
you
it.
want me to get up there?
Whoever you want to do it, Mayor.
No, I'm gonna.
You can sit right there. We can hear you.
You caught me off surprise. Actually,
$400.
the last meeting I didn't attend was on a Tuesday. And that was because I had a Housatonic River Commission meeting. And the one that I canceled zooming them on tonight was the River Commission. So we equaled out. I guess I'm gonna have to come right off the top and tell you that the River Commission, you gave us, I think about $400.
$400.
We lived with the $400 for years, And when I got on there, I said, geez, you know, you have no money, you have no teeth. All you do is look over plans, and it was very, very quiet. People used to complain about the River Commission. They never do anything because, you know, they can't do it. So in my years there, the people that were on there had wanted to turn it towards the National Park Services, what do you call it? Wild and Scenic
Like the river.
designation. And we have accomplished that. And we have accomplished, the meeting I was going to go to tonight was all on the planning, program planning and budgeting, and we got like $300,000 to expend through the federal government.
Great.
So you can keep giving us the 400.
Oh, I thought
if
you were
don't
gonna give it
mind.
back.
And we're gonna try to do a lot of things on our own. And for those of you out in the community that don't know it, and some of you, we go from the Boardman Bridge to the Massachusetts line. So it is not just New Milford, it's 7 towns, and all those towns that have contact with the river are part of this. The only one is Sherman. I think they only had like 1,000 feet and didn't want to get involved. So we watch over that little piece of Sherman. But it's a wonderful organization. I call it interlocual because there's reps from every town. And jokingly, I got to use this because we have time. No, we don't. What we do? Nobody ever wanted to go on the Housatonic River Commission because it meets in West Cornwall at the Cornwall Consolidated School. If you can find that, good luck. You know? And so nobody wanted to drive up at night, you know, in December, January, February. But I taught up there for years, so I knew the
You knew where it was,
location.
yeah.
And Mayor Murphy did let me have it, I think, as a begrudgingly thing like, so long, Bob. And the funny thing is...
And here's $400.
For $400. And you also have one other commissioner from New Milford, Mark Andriato, and we go up there all the time. And it's really nice because I know almost everybody, and I'm very familiar with the school district, so every time they bring up a plan, I've either been there, I know where it is, so I'm not confused. So I think you got a commission there that is doing a great job for that whole community up there. We want to open up more recreation. We want to find more places to have access, which includes your park, it's Still Meadows. You might even want to considering having that as an access point. I know it's a small one. Park and Rec put in a small dock, but we want to do that all the way up. We have a weed control problem that we're going to be looking at for the Japanese knotweed.
Like we were just talking about.
Oh, get rid of that.
I talked to Bob before the meeting
Yeah,
about that.
we're going to meet together on that.
Yep.
So I do think that if you talk about a large organization that covers a lot of people in towns, it's a good one. So thank you for your support.
Thank you for the
Thank
Well,
you, Mayor.
thank you.
Got a question?
That speech was worth $400.
I
Diane?
presume the Boardman Bridge is not your purview, but can you give us an idea as to what might happen there?
I asked that question one year. I said, Boardman Bridge, and I said to one of the council members or somebody that seemed to know things, I said, is it half the bridge? Is it the bridge on, the south side? He said, no. And I think it's in your book that, your ordinance book. I think it's north, like 6 inches north of the bridge.
Correct. That's where the scenic starts.
That's
the
where
river.
the-
Right.
So the question you're asking is a good one.
It's just completely
No, but you've
festering.
had I thought you had a
Yeah,
committee
please don't.
on that.
So
Really?
Diane, yeah, so Diane,
Yes,
we
Diane.
used American Relief Funds that were approved by the boards and the public to get a design and engineer company to come out. Actually, there was 4 of them that walked the site last week, I believe.
I was with them.
Yep.
I saw
And-
what you wrote on, I do the
Yep.
website and all that, so I saw what you said.
And so once we
Had
get
nothing to
that
reply.
information back, we're gonna bring it to the council and then Board of Finance and talk about the cost of something to rehabilitate that. And it could be in phases. It could be, first and foremost, making it a walking bridge. There's all sorts of alternates that we can use that we'll bring to the council and to the public.
And it may be too much to save. It may be beyond saving, so
I
just
hope not.
remember. No, I hope that, of course, I've been talking about this for years, but I think we have to wait and see.
Yeah.
So,
Did you know that his great-grandfather built it? Okay.
yes, and my great-grandfather went across it. That's right. My great-grandfather thanked his great-grandfather for doing it so he could get over to the train and pick stuff up that came from Brooklyn. Yep, they were good friends.
Any other comments on Housatonic?
No, I just want to
Okay.
say, Bob, I think that is wonderful that you took that on back to go up to Goshen or Cornwall. I remember around that time. But really, is the $400 enough for what you need?
Well, at one time, we didn't know whether we could ask it because we never really had a budget. We had a lot of plans, but we didn't have anything to do. Now we
Now
have
you got 300,000.
yeah, we have the Army Corps of Engineers behind us.
Good
They'll
luck.
burn 300 grand for
Oh,
this.
by the way,
Yeah.
I will report to you, if you don't mind,
Absolutely, Mayor.
in Gaylordsville, there's been a gentleman that dumped yards and yards of New Milford white gravel into the river to make a beach.
What? Really?
Yeah.
Yeah, you can see it.
I have a photograph of it, but I'm not going to give it to you tonight because this is not that kind of meeting. We've gone all the way through from wetlands through the DEEP, and then it kind of stopped there, went back to wetlands through me. I read the wetlands regulations to them, told them that they had other alternatives after DEEP, and so we have the Army Corps working on it, and we have what do you call it,
Cease and desist.
no, the federal government is on our side to see if there can be any remediation.
How much rock did they drop in there?
I got a picture of it.
That's a lot.
If you go on the Route
make a
55
beach?
bridge,
You can see it from the.
and
Can you see it? I haven't
you can look up there and you'll see it, and you'll see this thing, it's still white as snow.
How did it last through all the
Come on, back to the
flooding?
budget, guys. One of you reminds me.
All
That's a
right.
good question. I haven't looked since the most recent flood.
Take it
Well, we
easy.
had floods before that. It's been about 5 or 6 years.
Oh,
This is not recent.
we should look into that.
Because we had no teeth,
Well, you got,
there was nothing to do.
you have 300,000 now.
Next is service officers. This is page 172. And this is the same as last year.
Yep.
And as we all know, these are for decorating servicemen and women's graves,
Yep.
Veterans Affairs, and there is a stipend that goes to the VFW and the American Legion as well.
Yep.
Beautiful.
Any question on
None.
service? Okay.
That's a no-brainer.
No problem.
Next
That's
is
that's a
the,
no-brainer.
yes, sir. I agree there.
Not-for-profits.
Next is the non-for-profits, that would page 176. And that was the same amount as last year.
Perfect.
25,000.
Yes, sir. Any questions on the nonprofits?
Economic development.
Was there money left over, or was it all?
It gets expended every year
It
once
does.
it's approved.
It does.
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, because, yeah, there's a lot of good things going on, so,
Absolutely.
and what determines whether an organization gets a line on their own versus applying for this money? No,
So-
we've got a list of.
These are
that
nonprofits who
Right,
provide the town with a service that isn't currently paid for by the town. It doesn't duplicate something that's being done. They can apply through an application.
right.
And then we have a committee that goes through it and says, these people are deserving, and that's how it goes.
But we also have organizations, not-for-profits, that have their own line in our budget.
And those have been in lines
Forever.
since before.
Right.
But
I
what
was a
determines
council
whether
person.
someone might qualify for their own
Size, for
line
some.
or
I would think.
size? But
I would think-
$400 will get you.
I would think not the size, it was, I think the nonprofits that you see, for instance, we'll take the Children's Center as a nonprofit. It's what the town asked, we asked them to do something. Where a nonprofit that comes in, requests funds, the nonprofit subcommittee takes a look at that, sees if it's something that is, beneficial to New Milford, and it's not being done redundantly by something else. And then they make the approval.
Something that we would want to have, but this particular group or that group would, for instance, one might be the Ability Beyond, the homes that they have here for people who are New Milford residents, group home type thing, that we don't fund in any other way. And so when they need a furnace or whatever comes up, they can apply.
Okay.
Mayor,
He's looking at you.
Mayor?
how active is that?
Every year,
You spend it?
Yeah, it gets used every year.
we use it, yeah,
Yes, sir.
yeah.
Any other questions on nonprofits? Okay, next is economic development. That starts on page 196. As you can see, it's the same amount of money as the year prior. Does anybody have any questions on economic development? Okay. All right,
I
thank
have
you,
a
everybody.
question. Are you speaking for them?
Yes.
EDC? Okay, so,
The EDC
Duncan-
commission or corporation?
no, this one, right here, EDC commission.
The office, the commission, or the corporation?
Not the corporation, we already heard from them, this is the commission, right?
Okay.
That
the
what we're
commission
looking at?
itself.
Okay,
The commission services are $42.50.
I didn't ask, no, this is questions that I get.
Uh-huh.
So, you know the Dunkin' Donuts that was supposed to be put in the Big Y parking lot?
Yep.
I get somebody ask me that about every other day.
It's still in a design form. They're still looking to do that.
Okay, it's still gonna happen. Okay.
Well,
Well, it's up to the.
it's up
Yeah,
to the
okay, right.
person to meet the specifications that are relayed through zoning and their ability to do so. And
Okay,
right now, I've heard that it's still something that's actively being
well, people,
pursued.
oh, thank you. Thank you very much. I thought maybe people watching still would want to hear this, because the next to Dunkin' Donuts down next to Litchfield Crossing, they're working on that. What
That's
is
a
it,
Dairy
Dairy
Queen.
Queen? Yeah, so I don't get those questions now, but the Dunkin' Donuts is, yeah.
Any other questions? Any public comment? Walter, could you do your,
You're getting a hug after this.
for the Board of Finance, could you recess for the Board of Finance?
Board, a motion to recess.
So moved.
Okay.
Like it.
Till
Katie,
February.
till tomorrow.
To 7 PM tomorrow, February 28th, for the
Yes.
town council as well. We'll
All right, we have a
reconvene.
second.
Second.
All right, thank you, everybody, and thank you, everybody, for tuning in tonight, and we'll see you.
Good night, everyone.
We'll see you tomorrow night.
And good
Thank you,
night,
Chris.
man on the phone.
Thank you.